Now it's Haden to Donaldson to Bruce. Bruce with the high one. In comes Larry Moloney, calls for the mark. And I think there was an offside decision.
I think, if anything, it would be almost a disadvantage to Ireland that we won, because the All Blacks would have got together and said, we've got to sort ourselves out. And they, I think, if anything, would have been more determined than they normally would have been to beat Ireland. So I think our win, in that sense, wouldn't have helped Ireland a great deal.
Yes, that's a fair comment. Had we not lost to Munster, we probably would have lost to Ireland 4 days later. It was an equally tough battle. We had more resolve within the team by that stage. All Black teams don't very often lose back-to-back, and this is one of those occasions when we knew we had to dig deep and see the Irish off.
Byrne trying to take Brad Johnson down, but that was another good clean strike. Donaldson to Bruce. Bruce with the left-footed drop goal. The referee's hand goes up and it's through, and the All Blacks are in the lead.
It was an amateur era, but when you were on tour, it was as close to professionalism as you got. So New Zealand were professionals on tour at that stage. So they were fitter physically in terms of conditioning to meet the challenge of another big game 4 days later or 5 days later.
The New Zealanders certainly had learned from Munster, and they were wounded in Munster, no doubt about it. And they had a good team in Munster as well. Yeah? So they were now back to their uppers, and they really had to get back their pride to go home. Because the All Blacks, like, if they go home losing, there's something else I mean, there's hell to pay, there's chaos over it. So they felt they had to beat Ireland. They had to win. There was no question they wanted to win, they had to win. So I would have said that Ireland, to beat them, would have had to put up an incredible performance to do it.
Ward then, round the corner. It's high enough, and the crowd seems to say it's straight enough.
Once you do get beaten, you take a good look at yourself, and you know, we really looked at our game plan and decided we had to be a little bit more physical and be a little bit more dominant and try and take control of games more so that we had more control over them.
To Bruce, Bruce going for the second drop goal, and it's there.
I thought that they got their act together again, you know. But I suppose like any team who goes undefeated, an odd defeat now and then will inspire them to actually, you know, get back on track. So we probably did him a favour.
Tony Ward then. Oh, it looks a good one.
By God, when we lose, we're a bad mother to tangle with afterwards. So when we sat down and studied what went wrong, righto, the old coach got up and said, that was crap. You know, we tried to play open rugby, we got smacked by these kamikaze boys from Munster. That's the end. You know, that's our last loss. We are going to go back to good old-fashioned Kiwi rugby. We're going to play it tight in the forwards. We're going to get our half back and our standoffs to boot the ball down track. And you, Stu Wilson, are not going to run too much with the ball now. All you're going to do is chase it, put a lot of pressure on like Munster did to us, and then say to the opposition, right, get out of this crap.
Certainly on the Saturday they played a different type of rugby against us. They played a Munster-style game. That's the reality of it. Having said that, in a test game is always going to be a lot tighter anyway, and you do tend to play the game very much because it's the tempo's that bit quicker in the face of the opposition. But I do think they learned a few serious lessons.
Having played the match myself for Ireland against the All Blacks on the following Saturday, I think the All Blacks were afraid. They didn't want two successive defeats on tour, and I think their prime motive was at least to win internationals. And as such, I'd say they put up the shutters and closed the game down. Probably lucky to win the finish. There was only a try conceded.
Dalton again, hoisting it for Haden. Haden to Donaldson. Donaldson trying to go for the corner flag. Has he made the line? Clive Norling has got his hand up, and the New Zealanders are dancing with joy.
6-all, they scored a try in very dubious circumstances. When their hooker Dalton used a little trick around the front of the line-out, which became very popular thereafter, of pushing his opposite man in the back when the ref wasn't looking. Touch judges didn't interfere in those days, and they got the critical score to beat us by 10-6. But we had our chances in it. But Mossy decided, near the end of that game that if Ireland won as well, the Munster match would be forgotten. So I think he just went back a gear at that point.
The interesting thing is, while they defended extremely well there, and people have talked about us tightening our game up, a lot. I think the reality was that from that Munster game, which was game 5, it wasn't until game 16 that we conceded a try on that tour, which was another 10 complete games without conceding a try. So obviously we learned something from them.